Alright, so remember my database? I did the students one with students information in, then I had a resources one with resource information in. So for my one, between my two tables, there's nothing that actually links the two. And the way you link tables is by taking the primary key of one table and putting it in the other table, and it actually fits there. Now my scenario I did, it does not work. Neither way works. So for my program, if yours is similar to mine, you will need to create another table. And this table I can most probably call link or anything you want. You can call it whatever you want to. Doesn't matter. Whatever, anything applies here. And then quickly hold on. Okay, so with this, what I'm going to do with my table, I've got my students and I've got the resources. So my link will be which student downloaded which resource on what day. Then it sort of brings everything together. So now I've just got information about students and I've got information about resources, but they're not linked as such. So I want to now create a link, and my link will be, right, so for my link table, you still need a primary key, something that will be unique. So with this one I can say, maybe I can call this thing like download number. So it's first download, second download, and so forth. But then now you need to have your primary keys of the other tables in here. So for students, my student number is primary key, and for resources I've got my file name. Can't remember. Yeah, file name. So in here I can have my student number, which is the student that downloaded it. We can just spell this correctly. And then I've also got my, what's it, file name, man? We can just make sure student number was, yeah, text, and file name is text. So yes, so the download number, which student downloaded which file, and then I can maybe have here date downloaded and choose that date and time. Save this thing. So now my three tables are linked. So importantly, when you create a table must have a primary key. So in my student table, I've got my student number. In my resources, I've got a file name. And then in my link table, I've got that download number. That will be unique for every single record. But now, remember our Pat said we need a relational database. A relational database means you need tables that are linked together, or that's got a relationship with each other. That's where the relational database comes from, when your tables has got, I would say, a relationship. So they're linked somehow. And the way they are linked is when you take the primary key of one table and put it in the other table, but with a purpose. You can't just now go take the student number, put it in resource and say, sorted. But then it just doesn't work. Because if you do that, it means if a student downloaded a file, nobody else can download it. Because that student number 1 will be next to the first resource. That means nobody else can download it. So that would not be a useful program. So we need this separate. So we create it this way so that we can have download number 1, where student number 1 can download file number 5, whatever, on that date. And student number 2 can also download file number 5 on another day, or same day, doesn't matter. But we can have multiple people downloading multiple things because of this. Everybody good? Alright. Now theory again. When we take the primary key of the one table and we put it in the other table, what do you think we're going to call that field? If the one is a primary key, what do you think the other one will be? Do you know any other keys? Okay, so secondary is a good option. Not right, but it's a good option. I don't know if you heard foreign key. So the foreign key, it's sort of like, when you've got a foreign body, something that shouldn't be there that got there. So this is a foreign key. So the primary key of one table, we put into another table, now it's the foreign key. A foreign key, there's nothing special about it. Your primary key, unique identifier, no duplicates. But a foreign key is just the primary key of the other one. There can be duplicates, most probably there will be multiple duplicates. Because the same student number might appear 5 times because the person downloaded 5 different files. And the same file name, which is a primary key of the other table, might appear 20 times here because 20 students downloaded the same file. So a foreign key doesn't have any restrictions like that. They can be duplicates. It just means it creates a link with the other 2 tables' primary keys. Alright. A bit later when we do like theory, proper theory again, I'll show you we can actually draw diagrams for this to show the relationships. And we'll get to that. But for now, this is what we need. Depending on your topic, you could maybe have just 2 tables. But I think most of you will have these 3. We've got your 2 normal ones with all the information you want. And you might need that one thing that just links them together. And it will normally be the 2 primary keys. You'll create your own primary key. And then you'll create maybe something else just to make it useful. Alright, then again you need 10 records in each of them. So there needs to be 10 there and 10 there and 10 there. But that's what we've done last time. You should be done with these 2. You'll maybe just need to create this in the near future. If you don't have it yet, doesn't matter. As long as you've got your first 2 tables sorted. Today we go over to Delphi. So what I need you to do in Delphi for me, create a new project, save it, and save it in the same folder as where your database is. And if your database is just in a random place, create a folder for your pad, put your project in there, and then you go copy the database and also put it in here. Okay, so quickly do that now first. So the first big component you're going to put on here is called the DB grid. So go to search and you type in DBG for database grid, and you'll see it's actually called a TDB grid, and put one of them on. A TDB grid. Okay, once a DB grid is on, the next component you'll need is a ADO. You type in ADO, and you need an ADO connection. Put an ADO connection for me. So it's a TDB grid, is the big one. Then you need an ADO connection. Then you need an ADO table. You also need to put on. But think of your database. In your database, if you've got 3 tables, you'll need 3 ADO tables. Like with mine, I've got a student table, a resource table, and a link table. So I put 3 ADO tables. ADO, yeah. So you just start ADO, then you'll see there's a few left. So it's ADO connection, you need 1. ADO table, you'll need 3. Or if you've just got 2 tables, you'll need 2 just. You can add it later as well. If at this stage you've just got 2, you can put 2. And then the last one you need is a data source. So you start with data, and you'll see T data source is top. You put a T data source down. So one ADO connection, an ADO table for each of the tables in your database, and then a data source. Yes, enough. About the purpose of each of these components, you need to know that for theory questions. Okay, in your theory paper, we can actually ask you questions, what is the purpose of this component or that component, and so forth. They are relatively self-explanatory, so it's not too difficult. Alright, so our first one, this ADO connection will create a connection between our Delphi program and Microsoft Access. So this one's going to link our program to the database itself. our tables, as they say, they're going to extract the table from the connection. Remember, the connection is now with the whole database. But we don't want to work with the whole database, we want to work with a table at a time. So that's where these tables come from. So we're going to extract the tables from there and put them each in their own component. Then, in this DB grid, we want to display something. And we're going to display whatever the data source tells us to display. So the data source will tell the grid what to display. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tell the source, listen, either display the student table or the resource table or the link table. And then so this one will change depending on what we want it to display. And that's sort of the purpose of each of them. So the ADO connection creates the link with the database. Our tables extracts the table's information from the connection. And then our data source tells the DB grid what to display. Alright, let's see how we do this thing. Alright, so let's start with the first connection. So we start with our ADO connection. So you click on that one, then we go to our properties. In your properties, right on top, fourth from the top, there is a connection string. Yours is empty. So what you do, you can either double click there or click there with the dots. Double click also works, then this thing opens up. If you double click by connection string, this thing will pop up. Alright, good. So you must click on the ADO connection. Then you go to the fourth property, the connection string. Double click there, this thing will open. Then you go bold. You click on the bold button. Then this will appear. In the bold part, we're going to use the Microsoft Jet 4. We always use that. That's what we use to connect to Microsoft Access with. Then we say next. In here, they say here, select or enter the database name. So you can click on the ellipse sign, the dot dot dot, and you should see your database should just be there. Otherwise, just go to the correct folder. If you're in the correct folder and you don't see your database, then maybe call me, because then you saved it wrong, the wrong data type. You remember I told you it should not be ACCDB. If you left it as that, you won't see it, because this only shows you MDBs. You select it, you say open, and then you say OK, and you say OK. You say open, then OK, OK until it's gone. There's OK at the bottom. So now yours is fine. Then just go OK and OK.